Thus preached Hermes, O people of the earth, men born and made of the elements, but with the spirit of the divine within you. Rise from your sleep of ignorance. Be sober and thoughtful. Realize that your home is not of the earth, but of the light. Why have you delivered yourselves over unto death, having power to partake in immortality? Repent and change your will. Depart from the dark light and forsake corruption forever. Prepare yourselves to climb through the 7 rings and to blend your beings with the truest of lights. An excerpt from the Hermetic writings and an introduction also to my own writings on the tarot cards. The tarot cards, their history, their origination, their deep origins, their meanings, and a good foundational background to everything that the traditional tarot is. So this information is on my website, and I put it together in 2010. And since there are these very sacred 4 divinatory decks, oracular decks that I have created, and the first of the 4 to be released quite soon, I wanted to, I guess, connect you with the tarot cards and a bit about their meaning, So we can look at origination coming from what some of the works of the medieval French have put together, trying so hard to find all the missing links to alchemical, I guess, scriptures and texts that once again all come back to this character. The animals are talking. Ella kukla. I think we have more than just me that wants to talk here. So it all comes back to this very important character, sage, great sage, medium, and I have to just be patient. Ella. Oh, somebody's totally ripping down their house here. That's good. Okay. So, Hermes Trismegistus. Yeah. Have you heard about the emerald tablet? The emerald tablets that the great scribe Hermes, carved onto them the true seeker's quest based on what Hermes received, what he also gave to the place at the time. I guess Hermes, to many, is a representation of the unification of the divine being Hermes, based on the ancient Greek system, which is a mercurial entity if we look at it in the Latin word, and the Egyptian god, divine being, Thoth, which is a wisdom divinity. Okay, so Hermes, this great sage, has been I guess known to be coming from, or a combination of these wisdom divinities, and once again the mercurial component is very strong here, of course, being Hermes, or of course a wisdom divinity such as Thoth. So what did Hermes do? What was Hermes all about back then in ancient Egypt? Okay, it was very much about scribing, writing, offering these treasures to the peoples of the time, being a medium for divine presence, and writing incredible scriptures and beneficial, useful magic and the alchemical procedure and process in the True Seeker's Quest, also known as the Emerald Tablet. Okay, and this Emerald Tablet had been discovered in historical context. It had been discovered not in just one place, and it is very clear also that the Emerald Tablet, made of emerald, and engraved with all these sacred laws, divine laws from the medium Hermes himself, is said to not be something that just anyone can possess, just anyone can, I guess, connect to, understand, and put to use of. Divine work is divine work, and it doesn't matter how learned someone can be. Like, for example, Isaac Newton, he had so many translations of that Emerald Tablet coming from the Arabic world, the ancient mystical Arabic world, and he was translating that, I believe, into English as well. And there were versions of it in Latin too. And when you look at the English translation, you have to, I guess, understand enlightened lineages to be able to kind of work through the way certain things would have been interpreted and written. But when I think of people like Isaac Newton, I honestly feel that there's too much intellect involved, and there's less connecting and understanding with essence that doesn't extract from intellect, but instead is just something that is sacred. And that sacred understanding, it's very difficult to talk about in such elaborate ways. Words, actually, the way that we converse, words are also a medium, and seem to be very much sought out for, because people want to connect, and it's one of the main ways. But when it comes to enlightened lineages and this True Seeker's Quest, it definitely isn't about something as wanted as words and speech. For example, in ancient Greece, the Pythagoreans and those who followed Pythagoras as a great philosopher, those who wanted to be his student, his disciple, and learn from him, many of them were really made to do 5 years of silent retreats, to not be immersed in speech, instead to be silent and mindful, and fall into a state of awareness and contemplation, which I find incredible. And so many enlightened lineages of the whole world have also encouraged this contemplative, more inward dive that is away from what speech does. And sadly, what speech does in a world like today, which, as we know, isn't always helpful or useful, So in saying this, yes, these enlightened lineages, especially looking at the enlightened lineages that are so well encrypted in the tarot, are also very much about interpretation and the divinity within, and how that plays a role to what is stated. Lineage is also exceptionally important, and receiving the right teachings, and having the right gifts that are either given to you through birth, through your lineage, through blood, and how that's cultivated, or through the realized and awakened ascended masters who can offer that, and therefore interpretation can happen. And generally, this big question is, well, are we all able to divine? Are we all able to connect with such, I guess, practices? And it really depends on where this question is placed, because if we're looking at doing a oracular divination for ourselves, wanting to know the message of the day, wanting to connect with our intuition, wanting to seek out more of a divine and authentic presence, of course, we are all allowed and are made for that. And I think it's wonderful that we even inquire and wish to be more in touch with a more authentic version of ourselves, and not so much a distracted version of ourselves. And that's why tools like divination, like the tarot, and various other divinatory pathways, of course, can allow for that to somehow be made known to you. But I think the act of seeking out someone who has a lineage, or someone who is an ascended master that can offer guidance, authentic guidance, is another exceptional way, and something that we must never take lightly or at commercial value. Because if it's authentic, it will be impacting the seeker, the querent, for times beyond a relative understanding. And this is why, we all incarnate somehow for a certain reason. There's always going to be something in us that is far more, I guess, pronounced. We're not all incarnated able to be violinists, for example, or drawn to such practices, and then some of us are at birth literally able to play all the great works without even looking at musical notes. So this is evidence and proof that there is a unique contribution to the whole, coming from our being, our unique incarnation, contributing to the whole, to the glory which is the interconnected tapestry of everything. And that unique contribution is part of the self-discovery journey, and the wish to, I guess, be a true seeker, to ascend. True seeking is about ascension. That is why the original road was called the Royal Road. The Royal Road, based on the ancient Egyptians and the mystical lore of the time. Tarot meaning tarot, the Royal Road, that which leads you to the to divinity, to awakening. And if we look at the initial card in the tarot, in the major arcana, the Fool, automatically we will understand that Fool is very much about that leap of faith, that almost a blind kind of faith, that is required to dive off into what is the journey, and it is whimsical, it is daring, and it is full of, I guess, trust. And once again, blind or validated trust, it's trust, and you need that journeying onto the path. So the tarot, okay, being this very carefully created, deck of divinatory potency, based on the Royal Road, which is the Truth Seeker's Quest, has the entire journey laid out for you. If you look at all the cards, you will understand it has the entire journey laid out for you, and it has been developed over and over time, to suit the times. But going back to the origination point, when we look at the great sage Hermes and what he gave, and this so-called Book of Thoth, the original one, not what later came, based on certain occultists that became quite famous for their works and labeled their works the same name, but the original Book of Thoth, which is from all that time ago in ancient Egypt, and all of what Hermes, was able to transmit and give this earth, and what was engraved on those emerald tablets, and just how sacred it all is, and anything that is true, anything that is sacred, anything that is offering us the way, the true way, right? And this journey to authenticity, once again, it can only be visible to the authentic hearted. It's not something that anyone who approaches with greed or selfish agenda or ill will can find. And it doesn't matter if someone is put in a cell and locked up and forced to give the meaning, right, of the emerald tablet, and is forced to decipher it and tell us what it says at gunpoint. It still doesn't mean that whoever receives that translation will be able to accomplish its gifts. So a lot has happened in the course of history in such direct opposition to enlightened lineages, in such direct opposition to helping this earth authentically. A lot has happened, and the greed of the world and the selfish agenda, the eye-serving eye, has done so much to take away the value of the authenticity and the path itself, But so interestingly, there's been an ongoing, draw. So many are drawn to the tarot. So many are drawn to, mystical truths and lineages, and I guess, when you're sincerely seeking something out, if you really are, wanting to obtain the truth, to awaken, to, become one with your divine nature, your authentic presence, things will fall into place, your path will appear. And it only happens, I guess, when we really are authentically seeking. Then we find. If we look at the, the examples in history as well of so many who have sought out such authentic ways, and have also been students of authentic and ascended masters. You can just learn from their example, because there are still so many, and we're lucky because we have access to the information. It's not that everything is intact, there's fragments, but there is still access. And again, as we say, as the great saying goes, if you seek, you shall find. So it's all about the intention, right? And so this was just an introduction, but I'm really grateful to be a tarot card reader myself, and to have this lineage, and to have been really given the sense of confirmation that it's definitely what I need to do with this life of mine, and what I've been doing since a wee one. But to take it on the way I have, I'm very grateful. I think all of us that are interested in this art, yes, because it is art. It's symbolic, it's cryptic, it's mystical, you know, but it connects with us beyond speech. It's not just about words. It's all about what it does to us out of the understanding of the intellectual analysis of what may be said, of what we hear, but it's just how I can go through that actually and connect with our truest place, and everyone needs to have their own time in processing, I think, their own connections with seers and soothsayers and tarot card readers and so on. I think everyone needs their own time to process what takes place, especially with those who are doing oracular work, because it doesn't dwell in a systematic function, nor does it live in a linear dimension. It's really beyond that, and it goes beyond the understanding of what we relate to as time, and that's why it's so sacred. And this Royal Road, in its origination, this so-called tarot principle, divinatory tool that has been very loved and cherished in so many royal families and kingdoms throughout Europe, and has also been adopted in places like ancient China. It's definitely present in ancient India, and has been thankfully so well protected by the gypsies themselves, those who left ancient Alexandria, who were in fact keepers of the the sacred gates there, and then when the ancient Alexandria burnt down, so much was taken along with these wanderers, these nomadic tribes, and then passed through in very private and mysterious ways. So the gypsies have done an incredible job at protecting so many of the lineages and the sacredness of divinatory practice and the art that came, this sacred art that came from the time of Hermes and in ancient Egypt, a time when the divine ones in the form of Hermes, Thoth, were very venerated and respected. The times, when the Greco-Egyptian also enlightened divine beings were very worshipped and respected. And Hermes Trismegistus, being a great sage and scribe and a medium to all this that needed to somehow survive. So thank you so much, everyone, and looking forward to share so much more, especially the first of the 4 divinatory decks that I've created, which I know is gonna be, well, something very sacred to receive. Thank you.